What we see here this week is that more and more jurisdictions and states and nation states want to give more room to subnational or federated states, because often what happens is that we are closer to our reality and find better ways to reduce our emissions, and as we do in North America, there's now a cap and trade system between California and Quebec, which are the two first states of what should become in due time in course, what should become a more global North American cap and trade system. It will require time. Some states and some provinces will be much more reluctant to it, but this is the kind of targets we have to set for ourselves, because that is still the best tool to achieve the objectives that the world requires.
Why did the Quebec government decide to go ahead with a cap and trade system? There are many states in North America, USA and Canada, which don't seem too keen on the concept. What was the thinking behind the Quebec's government to go ahead with this?
Quebec has been for a long time a leader in questions of environment. We already are in a situation that in which 97% of our electricity production is from renewable sources, mainly hydroelectricity, but also part of it comes from wind. And we are leaders, and if we are to contribute to some global solution, it will have to be through a solution, an example, a model, because we are less than 0.02% of the global planet emissions. So it is not our own reductions that will have a global impact. But we might test some examples, we might be part of the solution otherwise, and we might also be one of those very important sources of innovation, technological innovation, that will help other countries tackling their own issues, because the technological questions that are raised by this common challenge are very important, and we are a very innovative nation.
What are your ambitions with the cap and trade link with California? What realistically do you think you can achieve with that?
There's something very important for us in this cap and trade system, because Quebec is already performing very well in terms of GHG emissions, and because 97% of our electricity production is from renewable sources already, we don't have that much grip on what's to come, that many options to reduce our emissions some more. 33% of our emissions are from industry. There's something to be done there, but 43% is from transportation. So we have a very energetic policy for electrification of transportation, which won't provide that much important results in the coming years, because it's a long process. The technology is not entirely there yet. One way we had to contribute to the global reduction and to reduce our own reduction was to implement the cap and trade system with an important and strong partner as California is. It will be close to half our reduction between now and 2020.
Many people listening may be surprised that a state within Canada is taking such ambitious action, because for many years we've been used to the Canadian government being less than optimistic and friendly to climate-friendly policies. So what effect do you think this can have within Canada in terms of changing people's perceptions about carbon trading and carbon taxes?
Two things have to be said. First, I do not want to, I do, and I will keep saying that the performance of Canada in terms of GHG reduction is at best poor. This is one reason to be here. We want people to know that we are different, that we speak of our own voice in terms of GHG emissions. And I also explained that I don't want to comment on the choices of Canada for its own energetic energetic policy or what they do with oil sand. I have my opinion, but I don't want to interfere with what they make as choices. I will comment the whole result, but not the choices, because I do not want them to interfere with what we do in Quebec. And you must know that the present government in Quebec is an independentist government. So we have this kind of distance.
Are these policies popular within Quebec? There's been a lot of, I guess, discrepancy between different countries over how popular climate-related policies are. How popular are these cap-and-trade policies with people in Quebec? Is there broad support?
We are in a unique situation. Each and every member of parliament in Quebec is in favor of this cap-and-trade system. When we arrived, a large part of it was already discussed between Quebec and California. We did raise the target to 25, because it was 20 before. We accelerated the process, but there's a consensus within all the parties in the National Assembly in Quebec, and this is not a question which is being raised in the population. Even the implementation of the cap-and-trade system does not raise much opposition, if any at all. Of course, some industries would like it to be more smooth, but nobody says this is the wrong solution. Nobody says they don't want to be part of it. Everybody is learning the way to cope with this, because we must admit it is a fairly complicated system to understand and to implement within each company.
In terms of the network of cap-and-trade systems across North America, I know it's hard to even predict what's going to happen in the next 2 months, but do you anticipate this network expanding? There's obviously the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, which I know is separate, but that's in the northeast of the USA, and I think it includes one Canadian state as well. But do you anticipate these expanding in the next couple of years? Are you seeing that level of interest?
When we announced the creation of this common market, I expected other members of the WCI, Western Climate Initiative, to mostly sit on their hands and wait and see. But we had a much stronger reaction than that. Quite a few states did show interest rapidly. The American federal government did show a lot of interest. They can't interfere very much within the state's affairs, but they did show a lot of interest, and they said even here that they expect the federated states to take more place, to be more present on the international scene, which we agree with. So a lot of interest was rapidly demonstrated, and we are in the beginning of some discussion in order to have other players join this system, including with the RGGI, the regional system of New England, which is limited to the electricity production facilities, with a price for a ton of carbon, which is much lower than what is practiced presently in California, and will be between California and Quebec, which is around $12 a ton, a little more than that sometimes, while the RGGI has a price per ton of about $5. But in time, and I think there's no other solution, in time, all those different systems will have to harmonize. We'll have to find common grounds in order to somehow globalize this system, because it is seen as the most efficient, the most economy-friendly system, and perhaps the only one that will bring us to the level of reductions that we absolutely require. Because sometimes when we have this discussion with numbers and industries and very theoretical discussions, we forget that we have there's an objective which is absolutely necessary to be reached, even if we all doubt that we will reach it, of 2 degrees. And the solution that have to be implemented very rapidly. We don't have that much time in front of us before. Not having prevented problems will be much more expensive than if we would have prevented problems.
Just a final question. interested in what you said about Quebec being a government that wants, and I think I heard you right, but please correct me if I didn't, that sort of is an independentist government, so it would prefer to be separate one day perhaps. And I'm thinking that in the UK and Scotland also has a similar government, but tries to differentiate itself to the main UK government by saying we have very ambitious low carbon policies. Is this low carbon approach from the Quebec government part of a way of differentiating yourself from the main Canadian government, part of saying a way of saying to your citizens we can deliver a cleaner and greener future than perhaps the rest of Canada?
We, how shall I put it? We do not want to be different because we want to be independent. We want to be independent because we are different. So from the very beginning, we see ourselves as a more green state, but somehow it's easy for us. We do have all this electricity available. I had a discussion with the minister, the minister of environment for Scotland, and they are in a quite different situation. And the most important difference between some European federated states and us is that there's this cap and trade system in Europe, which has its own challenges to face. It has to heal itself, and it will take some time, and they have to work around it, mostly Scotland, because they have an objective of 42% reduction, which is very impressive. So they have to work around the system and the objectives of zero because they are much more ambitious.